Yo, 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 what's up? It's your boy Mike the Dome once again, coming at you straight from DR. I decided to do a list for the people in the States. You might say New York, Boston, North Carolina, Florida, even Texas, that speak English and follow the trending topics down here in DR, especially those that are on YouTube. I've been talking about this for the last year and a half, exactly, about the trending topics of the YouTubers down here in Dominican Republic, mainly with I might consider him the Joe Rogan of DR. He doesn't have as much followers or subscribers as Joe Rogan does, but considering the United States, where you got more than 250 million, citizens or residents or population, and in DR you have what, 11 million? Homeboy got 4.5 million subscribers. And he's the top content creator here in the Dominican Republic. He be doing live content at 9 o'clock every day between Monday and Thursday. And he's ranked up there in the Spanish speaking world with the top 3. He's either number 1, number 2, or number 3. Homie be competing with the president from Mexico that be doing live broadcasts every day. And, these people that be in Spain talking about football or soccer, as we might call it. And I decided, listen, I talk about, what goes on in DR in Spanish on my Spanish channel, which is LoMejorTv, the best of TV. I talk about people on TV, on radio, and on YouTube. And I got this channel, the Heights Podcast. And usually the main reason this channel came about was to interview some of the cats that are down here in DR, or some of the people that come from New York and come visit my pizzeria. I got a pizza shop down here, New York style pizza. And one of my subscribers from New York strengthened the idea of me talking about this in English, because he watches my Spanish channel, but he comments to me in English. And a lot of people that live in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Boston, New York, North Carolina, Florida, I know that they English speakers, and it would be much easier for them to even comment on some of the content that I might bring, or some of the reactions, because that's what I mainly do. I react to these people's content. And I just want to bring you up to date of what's been going on with this dude. His name is Santiago Matias, but, his company's name, or his nickname, which was what he calls his company, is Alofoke. Alofoke is a term that we used on the streets, call it Washington Heights, Inwood Heights, Hamilton Heights. Hamilton Heights is down there by the Ballbusters territory, 135th to 143rd, 144, that area down there. And it was a term that, when you ask somebody, how did you do that? And you would just go, Alofoke. It was like a Spanish term that we used, like we did it regardless, whatever we had to do, we did in order to get it done. So this dude grabbed this name and he just started interviewing and talking about the hip hop culture or the music scenes in the Dominican Republic. Lately, he's gotten more into popular culture and interviewing, like TikTokers and people from Instagrams, influencers and stuff like that. And he's doing very good. This dude gets almost 24 million views per month down here in DR. And recently, he did a joint venture with Ozuna, and Ozuna bought this frequency. And they named the frequency that they bought Alofoke Radio FM. Give me a second. We got a water tank passing by. Okay, so let's keep going. So recently, they did a joint venture. They bought a frequency, and they named the frequency Alofoke FM. In that frequency, he opened up a couple of more YouTube channels and a couple of radio programs, talk radio. One in the morning called Esto No Es Radio. 2 in the afternoon, one called Sin Filtro Radio Show, and the other one, The Open Mic. Plus, besides that, he got some, other programs that don't come out on the radio, but that come out on YouTube, like Tuberalio. They talk about the music scene in DR and Puerto Rico and stuff like that. It's called Tuberalio. And another one called Political. They talk about politics and stuff, local politics and stuff like that. But I just wanted to bring you up to date of what's been going on, and maybe we could take it from there with the scene with this cat down here. 2 weeks ago or less, his right-hand man called Dr. Nastra was having problem with his son. Turns out to be that his son was hanging out with the wrong crowd, and like a month and a half ago, there was a robbery committed, and in the robbery committed, a young teenager died. 19-year-old kid, straight out of high school, getting ready to go to college and stuff like that. But nothing was said about this. A month later, they come to find out that his right-hand man, Dr. Nastra, his son was involved in some sort of robbery turned into homicide and stuff like that. So they asked him, can you bring your son in? When they brought his son in, he wasn't around, but they brought him in, they locked him up. People was trying to, say, you're responsible. His right-hand man was shook up. They did a live, and his right-hand man, Dr. Nastra, was crying on YouTube, on this live channel, because he wanted the best for his son. He was trying to get his son on the right path. He brought his sons to live with him because, when you 18 and you wanna stand out, you're not really gonna, respect your parents' wishes and stuff like that. Turns out that the 2 cats that did the robbery, one of them came and said, that the kid didn't have nothing to do with it, but the other dude was on the run. And he said on the video, while on the run, listen, man, the mastermind behind all this is El Doctorcito, Dr. Nastra's son. He was the one that called us from the club and told us, yo, there's some money over here. You could come, you could do what you got to do, and we can make some loot. You know how it goes. You're from New York, you're from the States, and you know how things be done. Well, everybody's locked up. But these cats, they making good money. Dr. Nastra, he's a host. This goes be, contracting him so he could host parties and stuff like that, and he does very good. But Alofoke, he's a CEO of Alofoke Media Group. He's not just a YouTuber. This cat got a couple of radio programs, a couple of more YouTube channels, and he's doing what he's got to do. He's living well. He lives in a penthouse. Homie drives around in a Mercedes, a Maybach. So you know what time it is when it comes to that flashy lifestyle. A lot of people are envious of him, and he's the type of cat that he doesn't give 2 cents about nobody. And when people were trying to throw this at him and throw this at his right-hand man, Dr. Nastra, homeboy just blew up one day and told all the people that envy him, told all the people that be talking about him, he was like, your mother this, those mother jokes and stuff like that. But over here, remember, this is a third world country in Dominican Republic. We're not talking about, L.A. or New York or anything like that. We're talking about, a country that's like 30 years behind when it comes to popular culture. So when this cat said, use soccer and your moms and this and that, the whole scene blew up. The people that hated him just started going off. Believe me, everybody that hates this cat was on top of his ass. So the FCC, or the equivalent of the FCC down here, which is the Commission for public spectacles and radio diffusion and stuff like that, called him for a meeting to talk about, his influence in the country, his influence with the youth. And, it seemed like they was calling him because of what he said. They called a couple of other, little cats that be competing with him, but there's no way in the world when you got 24 million people watching your show that you can compete with him when you got 500,000 people a month watching your program. So these cats that be having these 500,000 and less is trying to make it difficult for him because he's too big. So when they called him for this meeting, he said, can you send me that in writing? And sure enough, they sent him a letter which was criticized by these people, this correct spelling bee people, that it was wrongly written or whatever. The deal is that when they sent him the letter, he posted it on Instagram and said, look at this. These people that are trying to distract me are calling me, telling me that I need to come for a meeting to talk about my influence on YouTube with the youth and with the country, culture, whatever. He said, well, let me tell you something. I'm not going. And then he came out the next day. He said, you know what? I resigned. I ain't doing YouTube no more, and I ain't still not going. This cat didn't come out on YouTube for 4 days? Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, if I'm not mistaken. And he waited till the day of the meeting, which was last Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. The people came out on the news saying, well, he said he's not going to come, but the commission, these people work for the Department of Culture. So their government, the government placed them there, so they feel they got the authority. But they don't have no authority of what you say on YouTube, because YouTube is not a Dominican company. YouTube, who owns YouTube? It's them people from Google in LA. So they can't do jack shit to him because YouTube has their own guidelines. If you don't violate YouTube's guidelines, ain't nobody could come, no government, nobody could come and tell you what you can say or not say on YouTube unless you don't violate one of his YouTube guidelines or copyright infringement or anything like that. So when this cat didn't do no comment, no nothing for 4 days, man, people were going berserk down here. Ain't nobody had nothing to talk about. People started inventing stuff. People started creating content out of nowhere, lying, doing whatever. And he was chilling in his penthouse saying, how boring can the country get? Well, go ahead. Tell my competition to give you content. Tell my competition to give you content. People were interviewing this midget all of a sudden that came out of nowhere. Everybody was interviewing him because he was You ain't got nothing to talk about. If I'm not on the scene, on the YouTube scene, who you gonna talk about? So after the meeting was over, I think it was Wednesday at 11 o'clock, the president of the commission came out and said, we asked him nicely to come to the meeting because we know the influence he has with the country and with the youth. And we believe, we could have came to good terms in concerning, what should be said and the respect you should have for your public and for the country and for the people, this and this and that. And then after the president said that, he came and announced, okay, I'm going to do another live program. He comes with a live program and talks about who's better between Michael Jordan or LeBron James. He brings some, some cats from Puerto Rico, playmaker that he's like an analyst, and some cats from here, from Dominican Republic. Homie had like 200,000 people on this live program. And he was like, you see, I could talk about whatever, and people still gonna come and check out my show. And, he been doing content after that. And then he surprises everybody today and comes out. He got his own newspaper too. Digital newspaper. He comes out today on his digital newspaper. I'm going to the meeting. And they recorded him walking into the Department of Culture and the commission waiting for him. It's a bunch of old cats that been around, broadcasters, people that know about culture, know about radio diffusion and stuff like that, TV personalities, people that been around for a while, so they deserve a little respect. And he comes and he goes to the meeting, and, they had their talk, whatever. He got some pictures on there. You could check it out on Prince Matias on Instagram. And after he comes out, to be honest with you, I really didn't come to the meeting last time when they asked me because I wasn't mentally ready for it. I have been going through some stuff, he mentioned. And you could believe it because people were trying to throw this garbage at him because his right-hand man's son right now is in prison. You know what I'm saying? He's waiting on trial, and they was trying to bring this towards his way, saying they were responsible or that they had something to do with this. So this, this had a weight on him. So he be drinking some pills in order to sleep, because his brain be working so much that when it comes time to fall asleep, he needs to drink some pills. He got his own doctor. As a matter of fact, his psychiatrist, the doctor that, that takes care of his mental health, has a program on his platform called El Recetario del Doctor Guerrero Heredia. And, he got him under supervision. And every time this dude fucks up or, say something wrong or does something wrong, his excuse is always, I didn't drink my pills that day. So he came out of the meeting and he said, I humbly asked, the commission if they could receive me today because I wasn't ready last week. I've been going through a lot of pressure, and they humbly, accepted and received me. We spoke about, what could be done with the youth, this and that, and whatever. And I was like, this mother. I bet you he's going to do a live broadcast today at 9 o'clock in Alofoke radio show. I'm going to have this playlist on the Heights podcast. Usually the Heights podcast, we talk about, the things that go on in Washington Heights. But starting today, I'm going to have a playlist in English talking about the YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok personalities of the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico also. I hope you enjoy, what I'm bringing to you, and I hope, you you subscribe, you hit that like button, comment, and, just share it with the people that, follow the Dominican scene when it comes to the urban culture, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. So like I always say, I'm still, gonna say it the same way. Mike the Dome over here. Peace. One love.